Warning. The content of this show is the sole opinion of Dave's and guest, if any, and is not intended to ruffle your feathers. It is encouraged, however, that you leave a comment with a list of your own so that you may share your input on the topic. Any comment containing sour grapes will be deleted.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today, we have Hugh Caldwell back with us again, everybody. And we are doing our favorite albums from the year that Hugh picked, which is 1971. Hugh, why did you pick 1971?
Two reasons, Dave. One, it's my birth year.
Oh.
Right. And two, because I thought that the later part of the decade would have been easier to pick a year. So I thought I'd try 1971.
Good. Now let me ask you this question. Did you hit 50 already? You already had your birthday, right?
50, the 21st of May.
All right. Good 5-0, half a century. Welcome.
Part of the gang, yeah.
Welcome to the half a century club. All right, so 1971, I always considered when people bring it up, I would think about the songs that came out. I'm like, it's a hell of a year for music. You know what it wasn't a very good year for? Albums. Because a lot of the albums, even some on the list, and I'll bring them up as we get them, are not like perfect albums the way 1981 the other day we did just was so great. This is 71. It's all over the place. We're going to talk about honorable mentions that didn't make the cut, but there's nothing like just diving right in. And so, Hugh, you're going to start with number 10. What is your 10th favorite album of 1971?
Well, Dave, I changed this one quite a few times. But for number 10 for me would be David Bowie and Hunky Dory.
And what is your number 10? No, I'm kidding. Really? Hunky Dory, huh? I remember Andy Warhol's on that, Changes is on it. I couldn't get, back in the late 80s, somebody was really, really pushing me to listen to that album and dig it. And I listened to it a few times, and I didn't love it.
I love Life on Mars.
Well, which is his answer to My Way, right?
Pretty much same chord progression, yes. And my favourite track on the album is Oh You Pretty Things.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. So.
No, I mean, I'm not a huge Bowie fan, so yes. I know the Bowie people. I know if you ask a David Bowie fan, Hunky Dory is always in their top 3 Bowie albums.
It's not in my top 3, no, but...
Really?
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I could probably name you 5 better Bowie albums.
Yeah.
Another day. Anyway, that's my number 10.
All righty. So my number 10 is an interesting number 10 because Rolling Stone magazine says this is the greatest album of all time. I disagree. I think there are 4 fantastic songs on this album. I think there are 2 very good to good songs, and I think 2 are And this album is What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. Now, obviously, the 4 songs I love. The album opens up with What's Going On.
Yeah.
And then What's Happening, Brother is fantastic.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Mercy Me.
Yeah.
And the best song on the album, in my opinion, is Inner City Blues, which I think might be his greatest song ever. Love it. So that makes up enough muscle on this album to break the top 10. It's a very good album. I can't say that it would make my top 50 of all time, let alone Rolling Stone putting it at number 1. But I love Marvin Gaye, and this is a great record.
Well, it was in and out of my top 10 about 4 times.
Really?
I'll just say that.
Number 9 for me, Hugh, is an album that wasn't even on my radar to make the list, until just the other night, I was like, oh, wait a second. I used to love that album. Let me go listen to it in the car. And every song is great on it. Maybe one is not great, but the album is Meddle by Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Great record. Fearless, I love. What's the one? A Pillow of Winds?
Yep.
One of These Days. And Echoes basically is the groundwork for what will become the signature Pink Floyd sound.
Yes.
Yeah, that signature sound.
Great album.
Excellent.
Great stuff.
Excellent. And some iconic things on Echoes, such as Gilmour putting the cables in the wah pedal backwards to give the albatross sounds.
All right.
Little trick as to how you do that sound.
Didn't know that one. Okay. Cool. That's nice. I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan myself. Own everything they've ever done. Yeah, I've listened to that over the years so many times. And Echoes, as you say, it's an absolute masterpiece. Big, huge sounding song. It's great.
Awesome.
I especially love was it Live at Pompeii version?
Oh, that's the best version of it too.
Awesome stuff. Okay, my number 9, Dave, is the Yes album. A perfect album, just about all the way through. It's smashing. It's brilliant. I love it.
It is awesome.
Great album.
That is Tony Banks, I believe, still on keyboards on that record. The first album with Steve Howe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just awesome.
I love the opening song, Yours Is No Disgrace. Songs like I've Seen All Good People. It's just a brilliant album.
Awesome. Agreed. Fantastic album.
That's number 9. My number 8, Dave, is Black Sabbath and Masters of Reality.
Ooh, a great record. Excellent.
Opens up with Sweet Leaf. What a riff. You've got songs like Children of the Grave and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's excellent.
It's they defined doom, heavy, great, hit you in the chest rock. You know, a great band.
I would say out of the first 4 or 5 albums, that's the most polished.
Possibly, yes.
Production-wise, for sure. Not my favorite out of the first 5, but it is a great record.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have a history. Well, I say a history. I listen to heavy music differently from I listen to other stuff. I only ever listen to most heavy stuff in compilations that I make up. Whereas a lot of the easier listening stuff, I'll listen to the full albums.
Right. Oh, that's funny. So did you have We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll when you were a kid?
No.
That was a Black Sabbath compilation record.
No, I didn't have that one.
Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
My number 8, Hugh, is an album that I was turned on to maybe 5 years ago. And it's an album by Laura Nyro and LaBelle called Gonna Take a Miracle.
Yeah.
Now, it's Laura Nyro, Patti LaBelle, Sarah Dash, Nona Hendrix doing all these classic songs, Motown stuff, and just songs from the 60s that are just fantastic. They do a great job on it. It's a great listen all the way through. I highly recommend it to anybody, but it is a perfect album, if not near perfect.
I am very aware of that album. Haven't heard it for a long time though, so I can't remember a lot on it, to be honest.
Okay,
but I remember liking it.
Yeah,
I'm a really big Laura Nyro fan. I love Stone Soul Picnic and all that stuff.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Number 7 for me is the first album by this band with legendary producer Tom Bell. It is the Stylistics, the album called The Stylistics.
Right.
Every song is a hit. It's unbelievable, this song. The record is so great. I was listening to it earlier today, and I had a smile ear to ear on every song. Now I will say this. It doesn't have my all-time favorite stylistic songs, but it has everything else. It's really a great record. And it really brings you back to that time, being a young one, and thinking, God, this is like so great. These songs and just the mood of everybody.
I think that they could almost invented that super happy sounding soul.
Well, it's definitely comes from the Philly soul, because the Delphonics came before them, and maybe a few others. And after them, of course, I love the Spinners, and Blue Magic's fantastic. I mean, I love all the Philly soul guys. So to me, this record is like a must own.
That album was my number 10, and I replaced it with David Bowie.
I'll take that Stylistics record all day.
But I do love them. I think they're great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 7 is Van Morrison and Tupelo Honey.
I listened to that a few times this week. Great record.
Yeah, that era of Van Morrison is my favourite stuff, where he was doing a lot of more easier sounding stuff rather than more R&B kind of up tempo. I like it for the ambience of it. It's one of the albums I like to listen to with headphones lying back in my bed.
Right.
You know.
Sure.
My number 6 is Pink Floyd, Meddle.
Oh, excellent.
I would probably rank it 4th or 5th on my favourite Floyd albums.
Really? That high?
That high.
Maybe 5th or 6th for me.
But as you said before, it's a very strong record, and I would say that Echoes is worth the price admission alone just to buy it, you know.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Great band.
It's brilliant. It really is. It's brilliant.
The sign of a band just hitting their peak, just that, you know, they're going to come out with something massive.
Yeah.
And you can hear it. You can hear it there.
My number 6, Hugh, is an album. Technically, I would call it their first album. They did 2 albums before this. They did not have Steve Howe yet. So this is the first album with Steve Howe, and it is the Yes album by Yes. I think it's a fantastic record. Every song on it's excellent. I don't actually really care for the instrumental stuff. And
Clap.
What's that?
The clap, you mean?
Yeah, I don't care for Steve Howe's instrumental stuff, but the songs and what he does to the songs I love. And this is a great record. Starship Trooper pays for the price of admission. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yours is No Disgrace.
Oh, it's excellent.
Seen All Good People.
The harmonies are just nuts.
I love that album myself. It's brilliant from start to finish. I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, excellent. My number 5 is an album that I don't think you're aware of. It's a record by a British band called Black Sabbath, and it's Master of Reality.
Right.
I have Master of Reality as number 5 of this year. It's a great record. Again, to tell you how good Black Sabbath is, out of the first 5 albums from Black Sabbath, this is my least favorite.
Aye.
However, it's fantastic. And I think it's the most polished. Children of the Grave, Into the Void.
Into the Void.
Lord of this World.
Yeah.
After Forever. It's just great. It's great.
The wee short interlude of the Embryo.
The little instrumental, yeah.
That just sets up the next song great.
It's excellent. They're a great band. Great band. They were at that point. Still a great band.
Yes. Smashing. Okay. My number 5, which I've changed about, I don't know how many times I've changed this one, but it would be The Doors and LA Woman.
Great record.
Obviously, their final record with Jim Morrisson.
Yeah.
Very mature sounding record. You can tell that songs like Riders on the Storm and
Riders on the Storm might be their best song. It's so
brilliant.
good.
It's some classic.
So good. And the Changeling.
Changeling, track 1, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. LA Woman's a great song.
Brilliant song.
Hyacinth House. It's a great record.
Love Her Madly.
Love Her Madly. It's a great record. I mean, I couldn't squeak it into my top 10, but I enjoyed the hell out of listening to it this week.
My number 4 is Jethro, Tull and Aqualung.
Okay. Great album.
I love everything that Jethro Tull have ever done. This is probably within my top 5 easy. Songs like Cross-Eyed Mary, Hymn 43.
Hymn 43 is my favorite track on the record.
Brilliant song. Cheap Day Return, Mother Goose.
Yeah.
Fantastic album. And the
Wandering
title track,
Aloud.
of course. Yes.
I mean, here's the problem for me. I think this album did not make my cut. It got eked out. And the reason is because I felt there was like 3 or 4 songs that weren't strong enough for me to bring the whole album in.
Right.
But I thought as an album, it's a good album, but it's lacking some songs. And you'll see when we get to my honorable mentions, I find there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, 71 was such an important year for great, important songs, but the albums, I don't think they were as abundant as the years that follow.
I totally agree with that about a better singles year than an albums year, yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yes. So my number 4, Hugh, is a band that I'm not really that crazy about. I think they have 3 albums that are absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely out of this world. And this is the first one of their albums where I'm like, these guys just put out, and as much as I hate to say it, besides Behind Blue Eyes, this album's fucking perfect. And it is the Who's Next. I can't listen to Behind Blue Eyes again. They tried to bury it in my brain, and I do not like it. But every other song on that album is absolutely fantastic. Love it. Now, is it as good as Quadrophenia? No. Is it as good as Who Are You? You could argue that it's a more important record than Who Are You, but I like Who Are You better. And I should also say that Face Dance's album actually is a very good album too by them. However, Who's Next? My 4th favorite album from 1971, I have to say, it's just a great record.
Totally agree. I know you're not a fan of Tommy.
Yeah.
I love Tommy.
Yeah.
Love it.
You do? I saw the movie when I was 10 in the theater.
Right.
So my number 3 is going to be interesting because this doesn't happen often. Out of 10 of my favorite albums of 1971, 2 of them are the same band. And this one is Yes, Fragile.
Fragile, yeah.
Came out later in the year of 71. Now we're bringing in Rick Wakeman. This is Rick Wakeman's first album with the Yes. And there's just, again, the harmonies on these songs. From the opening Roundabout, South Side of the Sky, Long Distance Runaround, The Fish, I just love this record.
My third favourite album of 1971, Dave, is Who's Next by The Who.
Oh, very close to mine. Excellent.
Again, I would consider it a perfect album, and I do like Behind Blue Eyes. I like every song on the record. 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. You know, there's a CD version where they give you extra tracks, and
Right.
I love Pure and Easy
Right.
on the extra tracks,
Okay.
which I believe was originally released on his solo album in 72.
Was it really? Yeah.
But I think it's the outtakes from Who's Next.
Didn't know that one.
Okay, that was your number 3.
Okay. My number 2, Dave, would be the Rolling Stones and Sticky Fingers.
Excellent.
It's in my top 4 Stones albums. Songs like Brown Sugar, Sway, Can't You Hear Me Knocking,
Love it.
Bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I even like the song that you don't like, Dead Flowers.
Yeah.
Sister Morphine. It's a great album.
Actually, Dead Flowers, I don't hate. I just don't care for it.
Right. Okay.
Sister Morphine, I don't like.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That's very cool. I have to tell you, it was hard for me to come up with number 2. So hard that it was the one of 2 albums that never changed positions since I started my list. And
Right.
mine is the Rolling Stones' Sticky Fingers,
There you go.
which tells me I both know what number 1s are going to be. However, let's discuss the Sticky Fingers. You mentioned Bitch.
Yeah.
Moonlight Mile
Oh, Moonlight Mile, of course.
is absolutely legendary.
Yeah.
Sway, Wild Horses.
Exactly.
The record is amazing.
Yeah.
Especially coming off of the fact that the album before that was Let It Bleed.
Which was so. Yeah.
And I feel like, what? Let It Bleed was great. I feel like the album after, Exile on Main Street, I feel like that gets unnecessary love. There's some good stuff on it, but it's some good stuff on it, but there's a lot of filler.
I think, Exile is a bit bloated.
Yeah, I think what the Stones did when they did Exile was like, hey, Marvin Gaye put out an 8-song album with 4 filler songs and 4 songs. Why don't we do that?
Aye.
Anyways. Okay, so before we go to number 1s,
Yes.
let's talk about some honorable mentions.
Yeah, okay.
And also, let me just also mention some artists that are not in my honorable mentions who were big at this time. James Taylor, Carole King. They were putting out music during this year, and there's plenty others. I know your honorable mentions is shorter than mine. Why don't you tell yours first, and then I will say mine.
Okay, I would say an album by Donny Hathaway.
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, so that's why it didn't make my list. An album I remember finding in a second-hand store when I was about 14 was an album by Boz Scaggs called Moments, which is half a great album.
Right.
The first few songs are fantastic, and then it tails off. Okay, Rod Stewart album, Every Picture Tells a Story.
Also in my honorable mentions. Again, 3 or 4 really fantastic songs, and then a shite of an album.
It's a theme of that year, isn't it?
I think so.
And my other 2 would be Carly Simon's album, Anticipation. I quite like.
Oh, that came out that year. Yeah, that didn't make my
And
list.
finally, what was the last one? Would be Nielsen Schmilson.
I wasn't a Nilsson fan, but it's a big album fan. Okay, Hugh, here are some honorable mentions that I wanted to bring up. These are albums that, first I'll start with the albums that were in my top 10 and then was in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah.
Allman Brothers, at Fillmore East. I don't want to hear Stormy Monday. There's a couple of songs I don't want to hear. Some of the songs I love. I thought their version of You Don't Love Me on that album was too fast. I like the Gary Moore speed better. So on that, it didn't make my list.
Yeah,
it kept coming in and out.
Whipping Post and Elizabeth Reed are the two standouts.
Yes. Yeah, great stuff. Todd Rundgren did an album that year called Runt, The Ballad of Todd Rundgren. Wailing Wall, Be Nice to Me. Love a lot of the songs on this record. Some of the songs, they tag on a little too long. And it wasn't one that I super connected with, but I do love the album after that. Something Anything is legendary. But this is a great album and an honorable mention. I also had, just to say the ones you mentioned already, I had Jethro Tull, Aqualung, I had Rod Stewart, I had the Doors, Ellie Woman, I had Van Morrison, Tupelo, Honey. So I just have a few more to mention that we haven't discussed. ZZ Top's first album,
right,
which is by ZZ Top, is a great record. In 1971, two bands came out with a song called Brown Sugar, ZZ Top and the Stones. It's a great record. It's not great enough to break top 10 for me. Another album I struggled with putting it in the list and then out of the list. And mainly I went away from it because when I listened to the title track over and over again, I'm disappointed in the guitar playing on it. It's a little sloppy for me and the production is, but it's Funkadelic's Maggot Brain.
Right.
But can you get to that? You and Your Folks, Me and My Folks. I love those songs. My band in LA called The Big Angry, when we first came out, we would cover You and Your Folks, Me and My Folks. And how cool is it to see a metal band play a Funkadelic tune?
Okay.
Another album that I thought was side 1, absolutely genius. Side 2, absolutely boring. Madman Across the Water by Elton John.
John, yes.
Side 1, Tiny Dancer, Leave On, Razorface, Madman Across the Water. Side 2, Indian Sunset, Holiday Inn. I tried, you know what? I tried to like that side. I went back and tried to like it more. I can't do it.
I totally agree about the Elton John album. Side 1, fantastic. Side 2, not so good.
Yeah. Yeah, and the album before it, Tumbleweed Connection, that came out in 70, I think the whole album's fantastic. To me, me too. And what's the album after? After that, it's Honky Chateau. Honky Chateau's very good. And after Honky Chateau, it's what? Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player, and then Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Great. He was a great artist during that era. Just fantastic.
Oh, yes.
The last album that I'm going to give an honorable mention, No Way in Hell would it have made my list. It just doesn't have the material. But I want to give it an honorable mention. It's Shuggie Otis.
All right.
And the record is called Freedom Fight. It had the original version of Strawberry Letter 23 that the Brothers Johnson had a big hit with. And the rest of the record is very good. There's a couple of tracks that are a little like blues tracks that I don't care for, but it's still a very good record and something, if you've never heard of Shuggie Otis, give it a listen. It's good.
I've heard of him. I haven't heard that album, though.
Okay. Now, let's get back to number 1. And Hugh, I have a feeling, because in my mind, it's such a blowaway from number 1 to everybody else this year, that I have a feeling you and I have the same number 1. Now, we've never mentioned it. We didn't talk about it. But in my opinion, I just think it's obvious. So tell me your number 1.
My number 1 for 1971 is Perry Como.
Oh, very good.
Led Zeppelin 4.
Oh, what a shocker.
Shocker. What can you say about this album that's not been said before? It's end to end, brilliant. All the great songs. Where do you start?
It's unbelievable because you open up the record with Black Dog, which is just an assault.
Yeah.
It is just an audio assault. And then you go into rock and roll that has a little bit of swing to it. You're like, all right, now we're playing rock and roll. Then you go to the Battle of Evermore. Now we get into Stairway to Heaven, this epic. I mean, and then you're like, I get to flip the album over and listen to another side of this stuff? You got to be kidding me. That's like the price of admission was already on side one. Now you're turning it over. Misty Mountain Hop.
Misty Mountain Hop. 4 sticks.
Four sticks. Going to California.
Yeah.
When the levee breaks.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's outstanding. It's I never tire of hearing that album, and I'll never tire of hearing Stairway to Heaven either.
I know, I'm with you. Same here.
I mean, I love Zeppelin 3 as well.
Oh, 3's amazing.
You can see it kind of easily segs into 4 from 3.
And I love 1 and 2.
Yes. Essential listening for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Physical Graffiti is my favorite Zeppelin album because
fantastic.
Physical Graffiti to me is Zeppelin 4 doubled. Everything is just an assault. It's just great songs. It's great manipulation. You go from In the Light to Down by the Seaside. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
So good. For me, Zeppelin is my all-time favorite band. Now, I'm surprised I didn't get any Paul McCartney out of you.
Ram.
Was 71.
No, I don't know. I'm just not a big...
Yeah. I mean, I love Band on the Run.
Oh, yes.
And I love the first album. But
yes.
In between, I didn't care for much either. All right. I want to thank Hugh for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoyed this. And also, what we'd like to see is we want to see your top 10 from 1971, your favorites. Now, please, in the comments, don't come back to me and be like, that Who album is the greatest album, and start quoting me what you call facts. This is all opinion. Everyone has an opinion. These are our favorites. We're not saying it's the best. We're saying it's the best for us. What floats our boat? So we want to see your comments. We want to see who you like. Maybe we forgot some things. Maybe we can go back and listen to some stuff that you suggest. We'd love it. We're going to show you on the screen our picks again. And Hugh, I want to thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave.
And everybody, very good.